If we hadn't already figured it out by now, the weird yet somehow unsurprising friendship between Creepshow Art and Gabbie Hanna has now officially come to an end. And we have that confirmed by Gabbie Hanna herself. What's crack, it's VangelinaSkov, and today we are going to be talking about Gabbie Hanna and Creepshow Art. Now previously I had done a video talking about the voice memos that had come out from Creepshow Art, where she was talking about Gabbie Hanna, saying some not great things about her, and also explaining that yes, she and Gabbie were in communication, but claiming that Gabbie had used her, manipulated her, and had gotten mad at her when she didn't want to make videos that Gabbie wanted her to make. If you missed that, I'll link that in the description for you to check out so you can catch up with what's going on. But if not, we'll carry on because there is more to talk about. Because recently, Gabbie Hanna actually responded to these voice memos. And what she had to say was actually pretty interesting, so today we're just going to go over what she said. Before we get into that though, I would really appreciate if you would please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications with that little bell button right beside the subscribe button. I know the podcast episode has been a long time coming, the one the patrons actually voted for me talking about stuff about Creepshow Art, and I've been promising it for a long time, and there are reasons why it hasn't gone up, which I go over in the podcast episode, but that podcast is now officially on my Patreon, so if you're interested in hearing that, I'll leave a link in the description as well and in a pinned comment so you can hear that. I do go into some stuff that I haven't talked about on YouTube, but you're under no obligation to listen to it if you don't want to. And so you know it's available to all tiers of my Patreon, and the lowest tier is just $1. Okay, so let's get on with talking about the stuff that Gabbie had to say about Creepshow Art and the voice memos. Now this all comes from a podcast called the Half Baked Podcast where Gabbie Hanna was a guest. Now this was obviously not the only thing that was discussed in the podcast. There was other stuff as well, but I'm just going to focus on the stuff that she said about the voice memos. And I do want to say as well, before I tell you what Gabbie said, that I wouldn't know about any of this at all if Truth Sleuth hadn't actually uploaded a video about this already. It would have just slipped right by me, so I'll link that video in the description as well. I would really recommend that you check it out. Truth Sleuth has been covering a lot of the Creepshow Art stuff, so it's worth a look if you're interested in that topic. So in this, one of the first things Gabbie says is that she didn't actually listen to the voice memos themselves, but she does obviously have an idea of what was said in them, because Gabbie says, I had no idea she was being a shady bitch about me. But she says, I don't watch that stuff because it genuinely makes me so sad and stressed. But I can only imagine, because they ask her what she thought about what was said and all that. And Gabbie has said before she doesn't watch stuff about herself, and even Creepshow Art said it in the voice memos that Gabbie doesn't watch stuff about herself. But it is explained to Gabbie during the podcast sort of what was said. And some of Creepshow Art's claims were vaguely explained, like that Gabbie was using her and that Gabbie had yelled at her for not making a video that she wanted her to make. And Gabbie flat out denies that she ever yelled at Creepshow Art. She literally says the words, I did not yell at Creepshow Art. And she says that it's weird and she's sick of people making up stories. Now the thing is, annoyingly in this situation, either one of them could be lying and either one of them could be telling the truth. Likewise, neither of them could be lying and neither of them could be telling the truth. These are just two people who I just don't trust. So it's very hard to gauge who's more likely to be telling the truth. So I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and say everybody's telling the truth. That makes no sense because they're contradicting each other, but there you go. To be honest, in this situation, I think personally I'm leaning towards Gabbie, that she didn't yell at Creepshow Art, because that just seems like a little bit of a weird thing to do, even for Gabbie. But then again, I could be wrong. It's also said to Gabbie during the podcast that it's weird that Creepshow Art went to Gabbie after everything happened with the exposés and lolcow and everything like that, instead of to her other friends, the friends that she was closer with. But if you look at it from Shannon's perspective, I guess it makes sense because she hadn't talked about Gabbie on lolcow, but she had allegedly talked about everybody else on lolcow, and these were her former friends, so how is she going to go to them? But Gabbie explains that after the situation she just felt bad for Creepshow Art. She hadn't actually fully looked into all of the claims that were being made. She didn't really know what was happening, but she knew what it was like to have everybody coming at you on the internet, and she didn't want to add to that. Also very interesting is the fact that Gabbie says that she's afraid of Creepshow Art. because Shannon has her address, Gabbie has Shannon's address, they've sent each other gifts, and Gabbie says something like, we know what she's done to other people whose addresses she's known, so probably almost definitely referring to Emily Artful in that situation. But in relation to that, Gabbie also says because they had each other's addresses, they would send each other things, they would communicate a lot, that Gabbie considered them friends. And it's kind of sad because this seems to be a sort of similar thing that keeps cropping up again and again in relation to Creepshow art, is that she would have these people who she's sending gifts to and who are sending gifts to her, and all this stuff's happening and everybody thinks they're friends, but little do they know that on the other side of it, Creepshow art is allegedly just saying horrible things about them and not really caring about them. I'm gonna say it again, it's just bizarre. Now, during this podcast, Gabbie also talks about how she and Creepshow art actually got in contact with each other, which a lot of people were very confused about this and how it happened. But according to Gabbie, this was because after the stuff happened with Gabbie's Discord server, now that's something that I'm just not going to get into now. I have made a video about it. And you know what? I'll link that in the description too, if I can remember to. I said one time that I have a habit of forgetting to link things in the description, but I'll try to link this other thing in the description. And then I forgot. And somebody just left like a really passive aggressive comment. They were like, oh, this is like not a cute quirk or something that you... I don't think it's a cute quirk. I literally just forget to put stuff. I'm stupid and I'm aware of that, and I'll usually remember it at like, I'll wake up in a sweat at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, oh my god, I forgot to do this thing for YouTube. I'm aware that it's not a cute quirk. I don't know what else you want me to say. But anyway, if I do remember, I will link that in the description. But basically the short of it was there were a couple of people who were unhappy with Gabbie's Discord and her Patreon. They made their own Discord to talk about it and to vent about it. And Gabbie went in there balls ablazing, saying that she was gonna sue them. Not straight out saying she was going to sue them, but alluding to a lawsuit and asking everybody for their contact information and saying for anybody under 18, your parents will be contacted. So the short of it is allegedly threatening minors with a lawsuit. The reason I'm explaining this so much is because we're going to talk about that a little bit in a moment, because Gabbie did have some things to say about that I do want to talk about as well. But after that situation, people were contacting Creepshow art asking her to break the story, and apparently Creepshow art then went to Gabbie and said, oh, I'm so sorry that all this is happening to you and people are doing this stuff to you all the time. And that's how a friendship was born, apparently. The only other thing I'm going to mention about the lawsuit stuff, because it did come up in the whole stuff in relation to Creepshow art, is that Gabbie says the reason she was asking for everybody's contact information at this time was because she was going through trying to build a lawsuit, and her lawyers had told her that anybody who was involved, you have to get their information. So this is why she decided to ask everybody in that Discord server for their information. You know what? I can see the train of thought. I get it. I get the train of thought. I do not agree with the actual actions that happened, but I understand the very incorrect train of thought. I get it. I could get where your brain would go there. Anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for me for now. Do let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, because I think it's all very weird. And for once, I'm leaning towards Gabbie's side because she doesn't really have a reason to lie about any of this, does she? Like, I don't know, but I could be wrong. Maybe they're both lying, maybe they're both telling the truth. Maybe we're all just barnacles under the ocean. We're just, I was gonna say floating, but barnacles don't float, do they? They like attach to things. Maybe we're all attaching to internet drama like barnacles to a boat. I don't know why I said that. Anyway. Don't forget, if you want to check out the podcast episode, it's on my Patreon, link in the description, and also check out Truth Sleuth's video. Anyway, like I said at the start of the video, please subscribe, and you can also follow me on social media. Like, comment, share, and do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of the video, and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!